Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. Father's Day is a time to celebrate the supportive and caring men who inspire and guide their children every day. Yet we're also reminded of the estimated 24 million children in this country who without a father in their lives. Studies show these kids have a tougher time succeeding. For example, the Children's Center reports that 63% of youth who commit suicide come from fatherless homes. That's also the situation for 90% of homeless runaways and 71% of high school dropouts. The question we want to tackle today is how do we turn these troubling stats around and get more male role models in our children's lives? Joining me now is George Wynn, who's Chief Operations Officer at the Children's Center in Detroit. Also here is Marquise Herring, who's the founder and program director of Mentoring Through Media, along with one of his young mentees, Glenn Arnold. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you.
So let's start with you. I mean, we were talking before about this issue and it being issue number one, really, in our community.
You know, when we talk about the issue related to fatherless homes, as you just indicated, there's an enormous amount of negative stereotypes and negative outcomes for kids and families.
Yeah.
I'm very, very passionate and committed to the cause for fatherless. I think that part of the issue is the American fiber has really changed.
Yeah.
When we create environments that are not inclusive to men, what we really do is keep men out. Perfect example is one of the things that we do at the Children's Center is we've taken a look at pictures. Now, when you think about pictures and photos,
Right.
Being something that is small, but it's powerful. When a dad walks into our office, to not see yourself represented means that you're not included.
Okay.
So what we've done is we've included dad's pictures around, included them with families to show them with their kids, and then it's a matter of how do you greet and how do you welcome them.
Right. So do you feel like there are not enough dads in photos because we're always taking them? Is that what it is? Or
that could be a part of it, but I think that the bigger issue is we don't see or recognize the value of having them.
that. I see.
And because we don't see that, then they're not included.
Right.
It's quick to say a family is made up of a mom and kids.
Right.
But what we want to do is to make sure that dad is present and accountable.
Right. Right. Talk to me about some of the other things you're doing at the Children's Center that are sort of focused on this idea of celebrating, as you point out, the dads who are stepping up and being involved.
One of the biggest things that we do at the Children's Center is we're celebrating the good things that dads provide.
Right.
We're talking about how dads change the lives or the direction with their children. For example, when you talk about young ladies, the first encounter that they have in dealing with the males are with their father.
Their dad.
So a lot of the self-esteem or how to date or how to respond or how they should be treated are things that are brought within the fathers. At the Children's Center, we have a program called our Fatherhood Initiative where we work with dads. And in working with dads, we have support groups. We use a evidence-based curriculum that brings fathers back into the lives of their children. The importance of that is we show them the importance of they do make a difference. And it's the small things. You don't have to have a lot of money to be a positive father or to be a positive male role model. What you have to do is give the things from the heart. It's the little things you say. Time. I always say there's three magical words that seem to be missing in the vocabulary when you talk about men and children, and that's the power of I love you.
Right.
If you tell a child I love you and embrace that child and mean it, that means a lot. If you've ever thought about the times when at night when you're trying to read a book or tuck a child in bed as they pretend to be asleep, they will remember that and cherish that. The opportunity times when they fail and you had to pick that child up, those are valuable things that children remember in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And we try to encourage that. We have our dads reading in our Head Start program, so they come to the program, they read to the children. We have a father-dad Sunday where they have played t-ball and other activities. And then we do the real work, where I should say the heavy lifting, talking about things that prevent men from stepping up to the plate. But we have broken it down to mean what can you do and what can you provide as a father so that they understand they have value, they're a very important part of their child's education.
Right.
They're a very important part of their child's life.
Yeah. Marquise, you have this program, Mentoring Through Media, which I want to give you a chance to explain what that means.
Mentoring Through Media is a program that I co-founded about 3-4 years ago now with a friend of mine, Ken Elkins. And we started at Youthville, Detroit. We had young men who would come to our class. We taught media production, TV production, radio broadcasting, and journalism. And we had young men who would come to our class, but they didn't want to learn journalism. They didn't want to learn TV production. They just wanted to talk.
Yeah, right.
And so we would begin to have some conversation with them. And as they began to trust us and understand that we were, there to help them, they began to talk about their lives. And what we found was that here we have a group of young men who are hungry for direction. They're hungry for direction.
Yeah.
And so we started mentoring through media about 4 years ago, which we use various media platforms where we may talk about the Trayvon Martin case. We may talk about recently now the O.J. Simpson trial. It was just 20 years in the making now. And we use those media platforms to educate them on how they are seen and portrayed in public, their image.
Yes.
And so what we've done through that is show them TV production, show them how they can present themselves in a better image, and a lot of time is spent on taking them on college trips, showing them, exposing them to an environment outside of Detroit. Many of our young men have never stepped outside Detroit.
No, that's so common. That's so common here. It seems like what you're doing, in part at least, is stepping into that void that's been created in some of these kids' lives by the absence of a father.
Stephen, in my group this year, we have some discussion because, again, this is a holistic approach to mentoring.
Yeah.
And when you sit down and you talk to the majority of your mentees, the majority of them tell you that my father's incarcerated. Most of my young men fall into three categories. Either the father is deceased, he's either abandoned them, or he's incarcerated.
Wow.
And the abandonment piece is the biggest part, because what you have is either he's not there presently at all, or he's present and absent. At the same time. And so what we do is we work with these young men year after year after year, trying to get them ready for college, getting them, trying to change their mindset, getting them to see life in a bigger picture instead of this small myopic view that they see things in. And we've just been successful, and I thank God for it.
And you have one of the splendid young men that you're working with here with us today. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Glenn.
My name is Glenn Arnold. I'm 17. I attend Plymouth Preparatory High School, and I joined Mentoring Through Media 2 years ago. And it's been an amazing sight. It's opened me up to a lot of different things in life, such as going on college tours, or even starting my own mentoring group. So being under Marquise, it gave me a new variety of how I meet people, how I present myself, or how I talk.
What drew you to the program? What made you say that was something you wanted to do?
I wanted a way out, as I always seen something. I always seen a bigger picture somewhere, but never knew where I could find it.
And tell me about your own dad. Is that someone who's in your life now? Is that
my father is actually incarcerated right now.
Okay.
But he still is present.
Right. So you hear from him, and
yes.
I think that's an important point. It seems like there's a lot of sort of punitive reaction to the idea of absentee fathers, and I think sometimes that discourages people who may have done something that wasn't the best thing, gotten in trouble, been away, and then they figure, well, there's no chance for me. But there is always that opportunity to stay involved or to get re-involved after you have left, right?
That's powerful. In terms of, Marcus, you made a comment in terms of the categories in which you see the dads falling into, those that are incarcerated, those that are deceased, and those that are present and not present. Now, I want to focus a little bit on the ones that are incarcerated. When you talk about a dad or father being incarcerated, the first thing that they feel is that they're isolated and away from their family. And what I say is that's the time that you can continue to make a connection, because what we know, although they may be away now, they're coming back. So if they can establish that relationship,
and keep
whether
it
it be
intact,
visitation, whether it be making those phone calls, whether it be by writing those letters. once our dads come back, and we have several dads who have been incarcerated that are receiving services at our organization or through their families, because of depending on what violation they had that sent them away, there's some limitations that I have to do in terms of letting them on campus.
In terms of what they can, yeah, right.
But what we've done is that they can patrol the campus so that when these kids are walking to school, they can make sure it's safe. Yeah. They can go home and read to their children. They can still be apart and still be okay legally. Right. And I think we need to begin to focus in on what they can
give,
they
can
and how
do,
we can include
and not so much on what they can't. Yeah,
that's a major point. I think a lot of times as parents, sometimes we don't really pay enough attention to the small things that you can do. As you talked about, watching them as they go to school. I thought about one of my mentees as you were speaking, who told me one time, he said, yes, my father, he gives me money every day before I go to school. He said, but he's never showed up to my football game.
Right.
And, you know, as a parent, you know, sometimes you're thinking, well, they just want some money.
I just give him some money, right?
No. Good. But no, he wants him to be at his game.
Yeah. Right.
You know, he wants them to be present.
It's that time, even if it's just a little bit of time in the morning and the evening, driving your kids to school, picking them up. And, you know, I mean, as a working father, I've worked here and at the newspaper and everywhere, I'm busy, but just taking that time to connect with your kids is so important. We've got about a minute left. Talk to me about what else needs to happen to change the dynamic so that we go back toward more intact families. Each of you, just give me a quick idea of what you think we need to do.
From my perspective, it's about lifting up and really using the media in order to highlight and celebrate the positive things that happens with our children. Yes. The other thing I truly believe is iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when children have, or men or boys or girls, have the opportunity to see someone who's doing something positive, then they tend to follow suit and have the direction that they need.
Right.
I think that also if we can begin to, there's a lot of positive things going on in Wayne County and the city of Detroit. But at some point, at the end of the day, we need to link all of those particular efforts together and make some synergy to make this thing move and to get everyone involved in the process.
Marcus, we've got about a minute left.
I think you said it best. The fathers have to get involved. We have to find a way. Our men have to find a way to get involved.
Yeah.
I see this every single day, and when men are involved, the statistics of young men or young women who do better in school are raised.
They go way up.
You know, I always say, when men stand up, boys will sit down.
That's right. And pay attention and take note.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So men have to get involved.
Great to have you guys here on Father's Day. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.